This is the greatest class of rookies since before.
Man, I'm hungry.
Hungry for new competition?
Whoa.
And hungry for a breakfast with great nutritional value? You need Rookie-O's.
I could have walked to the kitchen myself.
Packed with first-round draft pick flavor. Tasty.
These rookies do look good.
Rookie-O's, part of a vet's complete breakfast. On shelves at your local draft on April 15th. Swish.
Vets and Trolls got a lot to say about your game? Well, slather on No Shade for smoother and thicker skin with the secret formula of SPF 144. Unclinically proven to help rookies fight vet vitriol. Stop the shade before it hits you and stay locked in. Guaranteed thicker skin. You're gonna need it, Rook. Lock in at the WNBA draft on April 15th.
Road is gonna be a hard one. I see pockets picked, missed shots, and an MVP and a champion ready to teach you a thing or two. Logo threes, some dimes, and perhaps some hardware awaits. The voices of the vets say it's time to show what you can do. Your future is now! See the future at the WNBA draft on April 15th.
Damn. Them skits have me weak.
It's the candles for me.
Like the candles.
It's the candles for me.
It's not the Brittany Griner candle. Why I need one of those immediately on the skit. I am in tears. We are going to talk about those skits. I actually got to talk to some of the creative people behind the WNBA about those, and then Misha. I don't even know. This episode about to be off the wall. We got so much to talk about. We have a rundown. We're going to do our best to stick with it. But if y'all really want to hear something, y'all want to hear our opinion on something, make sure you put it in the chat, because the fourth quarter is where it's going down, because who knows what's going to happen 1 through 3. But we're going to get to what we're going to get to today on our episode of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Hey, women's basketball fans, welcome to Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, brought to you by Black Rosie Media and hosted by Erica L. Ayala. Welcome, New York Liberty fans, women's basketball fans. Of course, I am Erica L. Ayala. We are here with Misha Jones. Misha, what's been good in your hood?
So much. We are grateful for all the things we are doing right now, but happier to be on this podcast with you right now, because there's so much to unpack.
So many things. There's so many things. Like I said, we got some bullet points. We're going to try to get to a lot of things. But first, I wanted to start with the little vignettes. I almost forgot about the... the little auntie from around the way. She be messing around with, what was Whoopi's name in Ghost?
See, you're trying to bring things
I know
that I don't have right now.
Dang, I wasn't prepared.
My storage space.
I know, right? It's kind of weird. It's too much. There's a lot, because I keep wanting to say Sister Mary Clarence, but that's not it. Her name was
hold on, let me Google it. We got Google right here.
Dang. Well, anyway, you in danger, girl.
Oda Mae Brown.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Oda Mae Brown. Yes, it was given some Oda Mae Brown energy.
You in trouble, girl.
You in trouble, girl. Like, I love those. So we're going to talk about that, especially because Stewie is in one of the skits. But you know how we do. We're going to do the shoot around. So I want to start with some of the other stuff, and again, get to some of the lighthearted stuff at the end. So we saw the skits. We're going to end with the skits. But, fam, I feel like last time we was up on here, Kim Mulkey was going off about a quote-unquote hit piece. So now, Misha, said hit piece has hit the airwaves. Have you been able to make it through? That was like a thick...
It was real thick. So to answer your question, you gonna ask if I finished? I did not, because I got to the portion where I think they were talking about, I wish I could remember the player's name, but essentially one of the players was like, she challenged me and it happened to work in the national championship. And so I was like, but at what cost?
Yeah.
It was nothing we haven't heard. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything new. I was happy for the backstory, I guess, about more of her family, because that's stuff I hadn't heard before. But frankly, it didn't tell me anything new. This is somebody who, you know, not only has pushed boundaries, but has pushed players away, has pushed certain, you know, sections of the women's basketball fan base away. And, you know, I have to say, in light of some other hires that have gone on around the NCAA, it was brought to my attention on Twitter that, you know, Kim Mulkey doesn't get the kind of backlash that she, you know, maybe should get based on some of the things that she's done in the past that have been allowed to, you know, happen by certain athletic departments and this, that, and the third. And I have to come on here and amplify that note because, yeah, Kim Mulkey, she might be getting results, but she's also a problem in a lot of ways. And it's not just her. There's coaches across the spectrum. But as far as Kim, it didn't move my needle really on her at all.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I didn't understand her comments, and then the piece came out, and I almost maybe understood them, and I'm like, dang. You know, there was a person who held the quote unquote alleged highest office, certainly in this country, who had the same kind of way. Mm-hmm. It's just like they say something that seems so ridiculous to a mass of people, but you're a fool if you think that they are a fool.
Oh, I'm a fool because I thought we was talking about the WAPO article too. Yes, that one, the LA Times one, nonsense. And I agree with her, and I see what you're saying.
No, we're still talking about Mulkey. I'm just saying, Mulkey preempted that WAPO article by saying things that caught people's attention, including people who were ready to drag to drag her. And so when we got the piece that we did, now I don't know how intentional this was. I don't know if Kim Mulkey was just being Kim Mulkey, but she elevated that WAPO article to a level to me that a lot of people are like, it wasn't warranted. So that's one part of the conversation. Right. The other part of the conversation is, I'm with you. Yes, none of that stuff was quote unquote new. If anything, there were more players that were attributing their personal experience to what we had heard about broadly. More corroboration. Yeah. Heard from Brittany Griner. And I think Kim Mulkey has she's put in the work to disassociate herself from Brittany Griner, which is hilarious on some respects because that's arguably her best player. But isn't that also what Muffet does? Okay, anyway.
You know.
So, you know, and so I think, well, it's quote unquote nothing new. But to me, that wasn't the point. And I was a little bit disappointed on people just dismissing the WAPO article because, it's nothing new. And to your point, that's the problem. Like, this is behavior that is ongoing. It's always been problematic. And apparently nobody cares, ? Like, I don't know.
I think folks was scared. And that's just me speaking as somebody who's heard multiple accounts of Kim Mulkey's going to do what she wants to do. And she's going to be who she is. And, you know, athletic departments, when you have the success, who wants to cross that line? And that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem, man. Results versus relationships and young lives.
Ooh, yeah, because that former Syracuse coach, what?
Okay. How, Sway? What? How? And I want to make this point, too, because I do think, generally speaking, we allow certain folks to get away with things that shouldn't be allowed to get away with. However, I am not going to stop holding other folks accountable.
Hello, but also hello.
Facts. But you know, that may be true. I am not a person with a whole lot of pull and influence. Frankly, I'm realistic about the situation. That's okay. I'd rather be over here. I don't need everybody else in my business. But what I'm saying is, I'm not going to ever stop calling out things that I feel are wrong, especially when it's folks in community, because I would like to uplift all of us. I would like all of us to reach our goals. And I would like all of us to do it in a way that's untainted by other people's nonsense, frankly, when we can avoid that. And I think, that particular former Syracuse coach is hiring is, I don't get it. Why throw, gasoline on a field of lilies when y'all are, growing and glowing in all the ways? I don't get it.
I don't understand that one. We might have to break that one down in episodes to come, because I'm just like, I ain't got it.
And we got to see how it plays out, right? We got to see how it plays out.
That's true too.
Mhm.
The LA Times article was interesting because Kim Mulkey again preempted a conversation about someone brought an article that she did not read, which became a theme. Coaches talking so passionately about something that they did not read. And I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. oh no. But that's, again, we're gonna have to save that for another episode. But just, oh no. Oh, no. What are we teaching the children? Like,
yeah. And the thing about that one, I'm sure you just about to get to it. The thing about the LA Times one is like, I almost agree with you, Kim. You were right there. You were so close. You were so close. You were just off center.
A broken clock,
Yeah, that's facts. But
I mean, yeah. And what people noted, which again is very Kim Mulkey, is that she leaned into the sexism, but not the overt racism. And so Haley Van Lith was doing the heavy lifting on that one. Who saw that coming?
A young buck. And you got to commend her for that too, because I think, considering the tournament that she had and the way she's performed this season and all that kind of stuff, she's getting a lot of flack. You know what I mean? And I'm sure she's getting it from home, from LSU, from that team. Obviously, it was reported she was like inconsolable or something in one of their games in the tournament when she got benched. And all that is a lot emotionally, but to still be able to stand on business and say, hey, look, y'all not gonna be talking about my teammates like this. This is X, Y, and Z. I have to commend her for that, because that's big.
Yeah. Van Lith since has entered the portal, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Just a lot from this LSU, and we ain't even get to Angel Reese.
We ain't even there yet.
We ain't even. I ain't even. Oh, child. Listen. This is what I'm gonna say, because I feel like I have a lot to say, and a question that I asked, the response became somewhat viral. But here's the thing. You talked about Haley Van Lith. Flau'jae also, after that game, I forget exactly what question they were asked, but Flau'jae said, let me tell you something. And I was like, oh, we already know. Grab the popcorn. And she took the time to use that question to talk about her teammate Angel. And at that point, you could see Angel start to cry. I have never seen Angel cry on the dais. There's been a lot, all kinds of stuff. She talking about, I'll be the villain. She'd been saying it all week in Albany. I was there, and I had never seen her cry. She was crying as Flau'jae first, and then Haley Van Lith. We're talking about how good of a teammate she is, how much she takes, and is able to carry all those burdens. So I see a young woman on the dais crying. So I wanted to ask her, and I said, if you will, whatever you're comfortable sharing, can you talk about what's going through your mind, what you're feeling when you hear your teammates back you up? And so then those were the comments where she talked about being sexualized. She talked about death threats. And here's the thing. In case it's not evidently clear, basketball is not that serious.
Never been.
End of podcast. Thank you very much. Go home, touch grass, hug up on your loved ones. Like, it's not that serious. And the fact that people heard what Angel Reese said, or didn't, because that goes back to I didn't read the article, but I don't know how anyone could have heard what Angel Reese said. And their first thing is, oh, she's crying because they lost. First of all, you grabbed no context from the video. None whatsoever. Second of all, so if you lose a basketball game, that means you're not allowed to be emotional about being sexualized and experiencing racism and death threats. Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're saying?
Sad. It's just sad. We've gotten so disconnected from our humanity, and it's not just sports, right? This could be a conversation for multiple areas, but the specific conversation we're having is about sports. And it's also, because women's basketball is having its long-awaited, not meteoric, long-awaited moment in the sunshine that will last for some time, because we know what product, is out there on the floor. Folks are feeling emboldened to give their opinions when we gotta recognize when it's time for us to sit back and listen.
Come on.
A little bit more. I think not too long ago, maybe an hour ago, I watched a clip on Instagram of Elle Duncan, Chiney Agwumike, and Andrea Carter kind of, parsing out their thoughts on this exact situation. And those are the voices we need to be listening to on this topic, point blank, period. These are the voices y'all should be listening to. Folks who have lived that experience, maybe not Angel's exact experience, but as women, as non, cis men, as, insert whatever category here, there is currency for those folks to have this conversation. Not to the men who just hopped on the bandwagon yesterday. We don't want to hear what you have to say about the on-court product. We don't want to hear what you have to say about the marketing, the money, and especially about this young woman right here who has poured her heart and soul into this game that she loves and is just getting all sorts of vitriol for it.
Yeah, it's just wild. And multiple things can be true, because I'll be 100%. Angel Reese is one of them players that, like, if I was still balling when Angel was balling, like, I can guarantee I wouldn't be nowhere close to her level. And I promise you this, if I ever got a chance, Angel Reese would know she played Erica Ayala. Okay? Like, there's just some
one
players that bring it out of you. There's just some players that bring it out of you.
Yeah, because when you start talking to me, I mean, hey, I'm not responsible after that.
Okay.
Felt, but that's true competitor stuff, though. That you know how to leave that on the court, though.
Exactly. That's the point. I'll keep it a buck. And that ain't got nothing to do with in that moment. And I will tell you also, I've never spoken to Angel Reese before last week when I was in Albany. Never had a chance to speak to her, would cover her just stats wise, right? Mm-hmm. In speaking to her, every time she's off the court, she is thoughtful. She is you can tell she looks at the scout. She not only looks at it, she knows it. Like the way she's answering questions, whether it was about after a game, ahead of a game, she knows what she's out there to do, right? And she'll even say things like, well, we don't have the scout for this yet, but this is what I'm expecting. This is what I like about her game. This is how she's different from the post player that we played last time we played Iowa. Like, she had all of that. Bang, 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 bang. You know what I'm saying? And that shouldn't matter, but in the context of, again, her saying that she's experiencing racism and sexism, and she's been sexualized, that she's receiving these death threats. But like, people out here latch onto the smallest little thing. She did a video with, on TikTok, which a lot of people are doing, in my opinion, people that probably don't need swimwear, they don't need any of that. But the point is, those videos, like, that's what people are doing.
Yeah. How old is she? 20, 21?
Like, yeah,
she's a whole kid, man. Like, come on.
Like, let her live. I don't even know. Like, y'all are crazy. But you know what? She had the last laugh because she was like, oh, how we gonna do this? Draft declaration.
And I gotta give it to her. Bayou Barbie did that. Snaps.
2 snaps and a twirl. Let's go, Hunty. Come on. She said, y'all could. She's like, because of course she was asked immediately after the loss, and her response was, well, I will say, I'll announce when I'm ready. Da, 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 da. She was like, nope, in the can, thank you.
I figured after she said that too, because the way she said it, I was like, oh, she got something for us.
Oh, for sure.
For us.
For sure. Anyway, we wanted to end the shoot around again for those joining us. First of all, hello. I see Teresa in here. Ronnie, Manuel is back. I saw Damo. I know you want us to talk about who we think that the Liberty will take. We have that coming up for sure. We're going to talk about that. Damien, of course. We're definitely going to talk about this game. This is an interesting comment, Damien. We're going to get into it, and we're going to talk by way of Courtney Vandersloot today. So, I think it's going to be Elsa. Glad you were able to make it live today. We appreciate you. Okay, so let's get into this first quarter. I wanted to first, before we do that, just like a little palate cleanse. So for those who joined as we were going live, you probably saw the skits. The WNBA has put together these fantastic skits. So Stewie is in one with the Rookie-Os. Then you have Arike Agumbawale. I mean, the whole face the close-up, I was like, this is too freaking funny. Like, them things are hilarious. And then, of course, we were talking about, Otome, right? And the fortune teller, just hilarious. But I mean, Misha, you talked about how it was a little bit of a callback. We saw in the schedule release, I think it was Dallas, right, that took it all the way back to those Nike commercials and even brought Cheryl Swoops in. Yep. So we're starting to get some of that. And this is a very intentional project and marketing plan. The WNBA, first of all, can we just pause? The WNBA has a marketing plan, y'all. Like, for real.
Yeah, we love that.
People in charge,
it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. Yeah.
You'll love to see it. But then also, so the whole thing, the skits end with a welcome to the W, and they're going to use that slogan throughout the season. They got some big rookies. We're going to talk about some of those rookies who have declared. We're going to talk about all of it. But first, we got to say hello to the one and only Brian Florentin.
Hey,
What's good, homie?
Hello. Well, it's not raining in New York, thankfully. I've been dealing with so much precipitation and water for the past week. I'm like, I deserve 85 and sunny. Until I get 85 and sunny, I will be unsatisfied. So that is my goal for the rest of 2024.
All right, come on, sunshine. Let's go. We got to get Brian right. It was raining in Albany a lot too. It's just about 4 or so hours north. Question mark. It's definitely north. I don't know if it's also west. That's the thing I was thinking, because New York is very long out to the west at certain points, but not in the in the boroughs. But anyway, okay, Brian. So we talked a little bit about those WNBA skits. We got into some of the Mulkey and Angel Reese and Haley Van. We did the shoot around. Yeah. But now we're going to talk about some things that are more pertinent to the New York Liberty, Brian. And I know you were able to attend the USAB camp that was at Barclays, but we got another roster update, including that Caitlin Clark was invited. So Stewie on that roster, Sab on that roster again. We have not, unfortunately, seen, in my estimation, unfortunately, we have not seen Benijah Laney Hamilton return. But also, I'm going to come to you, Brian, first, and then we'll hit Misha's thoughts. Caitlin Clark invited.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. And fans in the chat, let us know, what do you think about Caitlin Clark being invited to USAB camp? First, I want to put out a fact, and I wrote this for CBS Sports, and then we'll hear from Brian. But this is a fact. The last person to go from NCAA championship game to WNBA draft to WNBA camp to USAB camp to the Olympics and then overseas. Anyone know? Any wild guesses who it could have been?
All right. I feel like my default for any guess for a Q&A like this is Candace Parker. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, if it's somebody, Candace Parker.
Immediately, Candace Parker. It has to be.
It's that person that is in the plush right there.
In the plush? What's the plush? What that mean?
You see the
Yeah.
My window too small for all that.
chat. Hold up. Wait.
All right. So I see Swoops. I see Lobo. Lobo did do it. She wasn't the last person to do it. The last person to do it is on my little shelf here. And that is the one and only, not Cynthia Cooper, Brianna Stewart. 2016 was the last time USAB took a rook. Not Asia, not Sab, not Jackie and them. Brianna Stewart.
It tracks. It tracks.
Someone say Caitlin Clark. Are you paying attention now?
Are you an ace? Are you a Iowa fan?
I'm
not sure.
I'm gonna say it's a high probability.
Welcome to the party, RC.
RC, well, didn't RC say like might have to dip out on the aces if Indiana does what everyone knows they're gonna do? I don't know. I thought that's what I remember. We might have to play the tape back.
Okay, fan activity.
Wild. The last person to go straight from NCAA to an Olympic team was Brianna Stewart. Just putting that out there. But Brian, your overall thoughts when you first heard that Caitlin Clark was going to be invited to the camp that now she will not be able to attend.
The funny thing about that is I remember during the USAB camp in Brooklyn back in February, pretty much every question to the big bosses of USA basketball was, oh, hey, Caitlin Clark, what do you think? Caitlin Clark, is she going to be there in April? Hey, you guys have a spot. What about that great college player? And USAB kept it was very much a denial. It was like, oh, I don't know. We just got to see. We got to see who's there. We got to see if someone shows up to a camp once during this cycle, they'll be eligible. Hey, she sounds great, but we got to talk about that when we talk about that. So it was very much.
She sounds great. I'm weak.
Yeah. Oh, she's great. Have you seen her score points? I love watching on Fox every Saturday. It's very fun for me. So every sort of answer they gave sort of tipped off that she was going to be in this cycle, depending on Iowa's standing. And now that they're in the Final Four, she's not going to be playing in the camp. But I think I could be mistaken, but I think they might have another one in a couple weeks. I want to say the 16th or 17th, somewhere around there. I feel like they have one additional smaller thing after the Final Four and the draft wraps up, but I might be mistaken. But I felt like it was very much they were going to make space for her no matter what. And I think that now that we're at this camp, now that we're sort of gearing up towards the big decision for Paris coming up by the time the season starts, we'll start seeing more of the final determinations. And I think just looking broadly at the roster, I know for a lot of folks, like you mentioned, Erica, that B wasn't in this one. I don't think BG's at this camp. She didn't make the trip to Belgium. So even though they weren't there, from what USAB communicated, that's not a sort of marker against them per se. So as long as you were in the camp at least once post 2021, you are in full consideration. So I think they're going to have a lot of tough choices to make. And with the competition as good as it's going to be in Paris in 2024, and sort of seeing what this roster looks like as far as getting the most out of each player. Because I think we know that there are a few guaranteed lock spots for sure. There are at least two guaranteed. You don't even have to show up anymore. We know you're coming. In Asia, yeah. Oh, yep.
I mean, come on. At this point, it just seems like she's pretty much a lock.
Yeah, and the league is.
But also Stu in Asia. Now those. I'm trying to think what I want to say here.
Let it out.
I mean, okay. So here's the thing. Actually, I'm gonna curb. I want to have Misha tap in here. Okay. So two in a possible, right? Guarantee 2 in a possible locks. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about Clark? I mean, I see that Elsa, with this comment, I think this is very interesting, and we'll run down the names in a minute. Leaning towards her not making the roster strictly because she's a point guard, and that's a lot harder to do comparative to Brianna Stewart, who we said obviously was a post player, but also played like every position, especially early. Yeah, it was wild, a whole thing. Anyway, Misha, your thoughts?
So first thought, I think it's a smart move on behalf of USA Basketball to at least extend the invitation, let Caitlin know, hey, look, we serious about you, baby girl. We are serious about you. And I think, more than anything, that was probably the intention. I think obviously they recognize she's in the middle of the tournament of her life. This is her last season. That's all that's going to get her focused right now. And frankly, I think Elsa makes a good point. If Cece ends up on a squad like this, what role does she play? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people who can facilitate, so many people who can, Jen said it's a publicity move. Almost, but not quite. Almost. I see what you're saying. Almost, but not quite. Because I think, look at other countries. When they have young talent, who ends up on the rosters? You know what I mean? You have to allow them that exposure at some point. And hopefully, maybe we just talked about DT, maybe inviting Caitlin Clark and injecting a little bit of young blood is a sign that they're ready to move, you know what I mean, and pivot to the next direction with this, crop of stars that we have coming in women's basketball.
Mega,
mega ultra stars.
Okay, let's talk about this roster. So you have a 5-time Olympic champion. What's her name? Oh yeah, right. Diana Taurasi. Just in case y'all didn't know, she was on the 04, 08, the 2012, 2016, and 2020 Olympic gold medal winning teams. The other players that have been in the Olympics before, not even close to 5. You've got Griner, 2016, 2020. Brianna Stewart, 2016, 2020. Then you have everyone else is 2020. Chelsea Gray, first Olympic team, 2020. Jewel Lloyd, 2020. Kelsey Plum was 2020, but in 3x3. Same with Jackie Young. Asia Wilson, first Olympics, 2020. Then you've got some players that were on the World Cup team. Ariel Atkins, Shakira Austin, aforementioned Chelsea Gray, Sabrina Ionescu, Lloyd Plum, Stewart, and Wilson. Then you have players like Ryan Howard and Aaliyah Boston who have participated with the senior national team in camps, but have not participated in any competition. Caitlin Clark joins those 3 as players that have no national team experience. Does Benijah have a chance? My opinion is that she should. That's my opinion. My opinion also regarding Caitlin Clark, after seeing her with my own 2 eyes in Albany, woo!
This makes you a believer.
Listen, I am a believer. That's a whole different person, but I'm just gonna go with that because I'm also wearing a Toronto sweater today, so we're gonna do that. I don't know what they call them little Caitlin Clark fans, but I'm gonna call them believers because that's just what we're going with right now. Listen, when I heard Flage the day before LSU played Iowa talk about, she's like, yeah, I was guarding her, I switched on her for a minute in that championship game, and I was like, she ain't really gonna take that, and then she really took it, and I was like, okay, all right, Flage, like you should have known. So here I am sitting pretty much half court, second media row. I see her, she's just dribbling, and then I see her start to move. I'm like, ain't no way she's taking that shot. She took the shot. I was like, okay.
And not only did she take the shot,
made it. I was like, okay, this is like for real. Like she really doing that. The passing, child. Ooh, the passing, elite. She don't get enough credit. So here's the thing. When you look at these guards, so you got the point guard. You've got Jewel Lloyd. You've got Kelsey Plum. You've got Jackie Young, who, she up in there somewhere, depending on what the size is looking like. You feel me? You got Ryan Howard and Sabrina Ionescu. So
Where does she fit? It's tough because you also have to consider, yes, she's a unicorn. You know what I mean in terms of her. Ooh, that's a great question. She's a unicorn, you know what I mean? But it's a team full of unicorns. You know what I mean? A team full of unicorns who have experience, whether, like you just kind of did the rundown of everybody's different experiences with USAB, but it matters. You know what I mean? It matters no matter how good TC is. So, but I don't know about Sabrina. I want to hear what y'all have to say because I'm scared to speak up too much. I'm not trying to lose my spot on this here podcast for New York Liberty fans. So
okay, all right, Brian, I'm gonna give you the choice. Do you want us to say it at the same time, or do you want to go first?
I think I'll bet lead off on this one.
All right.
I think it's gonna be really hard. Not because if anything she's done like poorly per se, because she did well in Belgium. Like she had some really timely shots. Like she really was able to sort of like keep the offense humming when she was on there. And Cheryl had her in the final 5 in the game where Stewie hit the buzzer beater with the game-winning tip. So I think there's a really good chance she gets there, but there's so much talent. And now that I think about it, we didn't even mention 2 other players, 2 MVP caliber players in Fee and AT. So they're very good bets to make it as well too. And Alyssa can run the offense just as well as pretty much anybody. So you may be able to like adjust the roster to account for that. So I think it's going to be really, really hard. Like I think for Cheryl Reeve and the staff do you think that you'd be able to make up enough offense without her like 40 plus 3-point shooting? If you can, and you can sort of like have in a spot where you can sort of like have a little bit more defensive capability as compared to Sab, that might be the tipping point for them when it comes to putting a roster together. And because I think what complicates it, now I'm thinking about it, I believe Chelsea is back to 5-on-5 at this point because she wasn't in February. I think she's just about back at that now, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think she should be by the time we get to August for sure, and even by the time of the season. So that's going to throw a big wrench in, and you have a veteran clutch machine in Chelsea, and you're going to need that, especially with competition getting better and better. So man, I feel like this is like the game one gotta go, but it's like I don't like. It's usually fun. This is not fun for me. Have to be like, hey, you all WNBA player, you gotta go. I don't want to have that power. Like Cheryl's got that this time. Maybe another.
It's not even Cheryl. It's Jen Rosati.
Yeah, that big old committee. Hey, y'all, I'll leave y'all to it.
Okay. Here's my thing. I don't think that inviting Caitlin Clark is just a publicity stunt. I really don't. And here's the thing. The shots, I don't know how many times I've said this on this here podcast. Diana Taurasi is it's not even an argument. Every time you have a GOAT conversation, she comes up, right? Diana Taurasi cannot play defense. Sabrina ain't good, but she tried. Sabrina ain't good, but she tried. Caitlin Clark can play better defense than the both of them. That's my estimation.
She's got better foot speed and agility, generally speaking.
Oh my gosh. The first step, I was in love. I was in love.
It really made you a believer.
No, because y'all know I have been trying to give the keys to Sab. That is the vision. But then I saw what I know is possible with a first step with a point guard that can also shoot from the perimeter and pass like nobody and also rebound. And I was like, oh. Listen, if it's a pick one, and I don't think it will come. I don't think it's going to be as simplistic as Sabrina or Caitlin. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I might mess around and take Caitlin.
Because to me, it's first of all, it's Chelsea's to lose. If we're talking about this position specifically, Chelsea is her team. I don't care. I'll take Chelsea Gray at 40%. I will. She won't be at 40%. Okay, like Brian just said, but I would. If you got CC playing behind that,
you feel me?
Hey, big dog. Hey, that's gonna be a fun game to watch. So
listen, you right. And listen, some games just translate. And I think the reason that Breanna Stewart was able to, I'd have to look again at that 2016 team, but it's the versatility that's going to get you through USAB, which is why I think Benijah Laney Hamilton should be given way more consideration. I love, Brian, that you brought up AT. Like, again, not a person on this particular roster. You also mentioned Fee. So those are two players. Like, if Caitlin Clark, if Caitlin Clark was coming onto this USAB team as a post player, I'm like, nah. For what? For why? But as a guard, I'm like, she might could do that. She might could do that. She might could do that. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. Well, first of all, I don't know who said nothing about nobody being shocked. Ain't nobody. I don't know.
Yeah, Damien, what?
Fam.
You've been here long enough.
I'm gonna do the flagey. I'm gonna do the flagey. Let me tell you something. Y'all know I will get on anybody. I don't care who they are. If you don't play defense, I'm gonna let you know. So you already know this. We don't. Absolutely not shocked. Assist train total fire. Like, come on. Caitlin Clark passing to Stewie, to Asia, to Aaliyah. Well, we're probably gonna see a lot of that. What? Come on. Just crazy. I don't know. Someone said, I can't take credit for this. So shout out to Chantel Jennings. She and I were talking. Chantel Jennings writes for The Athletic, but we were talking in Albany. Because we're going to move on from this, because this we could talk about forever. But another possibility, do we see USAB give Caitlin Clark the Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young treatment and have her go through 3x3?
Ooh. Yeah, why not? Like, more gold, more international run. Why not? And I feel like I have to, because I know for the 2020 3x3, I think it was Plum, Jackie, Big Mama, and I forget who the fourth person was.
Why you make that face, Eric?
Hey, you know why I made that face.
Hey.
Oh, y'all funny today.
I got distracted from in the comments, but continue.
Yes, I feel like it'll be a nice little. Hey, why not? Bring more gold in, get that experience in, make that event a sight to see as well. I think it could work if the big roster isn't a fit. That one could probably work too.
Misha, what you think? You don't seem as convinced.
I feel like I already know what would happen if Caitlin Clark played 3-on-3, because it's already hard enough to guard her with 5 people. That's just how I mean, to be quite honest, like, that's when you go from one-on-one, nobody can touch her. 3-on-3, I mean, okay, but if you surround her with the right pieces, still nobody can touch her. 5-on-5 is your best chance to stop her, in my opinion. And 3-on-3, I just feel like, maybe there's a slight adjustment period, but she eats that up. I think she'll eat that up.
Yeah, I think you worry about, Kelsey talked a lot about just like your stamina has to be crazy to play 3x3. And I think that she could definitely manage that. She has a quicker first step. I don't think she's like the fastest person in the world, but like she does what she needs to do at that position. I think that her passing, it would be like a Tisha Panachero highlight. It'd be a Tisha highlight.
Yeah.
It would be a Becky highlight reel. And I, for one, am here for that. So I don't know. All right, now Damien, come on now, Damien. Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that. I don't know.
Sabrina is the one who can help Sabrina. Sabrina got to keep working on it, Damien.
Come on. Like, we talked about it. We talk about it all the time. She ain't got a good first step. But I mean, not that you got to work on that. You know, she got to get a little tough. You know? Defense is also about anticipation. Like, I mean, if you're really asking Damien, like, we can get into this. We got other things on the rundown, but like,
Angle.
You know, I mean, I'm gonna say it. Yeah, I do. I don't know. I mean, I can make some inferences here, but I'm not gonna do that because we type in. We're not talking. I mean, I'm talking, but you type in. You don't believe me. I'm not exactly sure what that's in reference to. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on, Damien. I don't know. I don't. Okay.
The Queen Bee School of Defense. I know that's right, Jen.
Listen, come on. Right. That's it. Like, exactly. What does Benai Jelani do? She's quick. She's always active. She's always moving. She's always looking. These are all the pillars of solid defense. Once you stop, it's over on defense. Once you stop moving, it's over. The only time you should stop moving on defense is so you can take that charge. Everything else, keep it moving. Move them feet. Especially if your first step ain't great. But anyway, we're going to move on because I don't know. We're going to, you know what, matter of fact, look, here we go. Bam. So I got to give it a little break. All right. On to the next second quarter. This is where we got to talk about offense since, you know, we got a little worked up in the comments about defense. Here's where we talk about offense. We're going to do that through the one and only Courtney Vandersloot. Okay. We've been going through our season in review, Courtney Vandersloot. Now, I was looking at some of the numbers for Courtney Vandersloot. If we look at her averages in the regular season, 2023 was a middle of the pack career-wise. It was middle of the pack for her. Not her greatest year that overwhelmingly came with that championship with Chicago, but she actually performed better in the 4-game series, you know, on the averages. Obviously, there were more games in the regular season, but her averages were higher in the finals, which I found interesting. Exactly, Brian. I thought the same thing because eye test didn't seem that way. So, Brian, what were your thoughts overall about Courtney Vandersloot, and what do we think we need to see from Sloot moving forward, knowing that she's got another year with the New York Liberty?
I think for Sloot, she kept things pretty organized, especially early on when everything was so in the air. I think there were, like, when the Liberty were not up to par early on, late in the games, it would very much be a throw the ball to Stewie, you figure it out. And then the rest of us are like trying to like learn something about ourselves in that process. But I think as they got more reps together, the offense was more in tune. Sandy was able to really trust her to really make big plays late. She did have that buzzer beater to tie the game and to get the DC game to overtime. So you could trust her in those late game situations. And I think her communication on offense really sort of like made things easier for everyone else. And, you know, I think coming into the year, Sabrina talked about just having someone who can take her off ball more. And you have an all-time great point guard who could just be like, oh, hey, she runs the offense. I can spot up. They're going to be paying attention to me. So that opens up everything else for the rest of the team. So having a guard like her who's never sort of like panicky, who's never sort of like out of order, keep things operating well was a blessing. And I think in the Connecticut series in game 4, I think she wound up playing like pretty much like 38 minutes in that game to clinch the finals appearance. So Sandy could really sort of like turn to her and really be like, hey, I need you for a complete game. Can you do it? And she can. So I think for this year, I think the big thing is starting camp healthy. Because I think what slowed the Liberty down last year was the whole front, all big three positions were injured. Stewie came in, JJ had the foot, Sloot got concussed like the first day of camp, so that threw her off. So I think getting through camp healthy is going to be the first big thing. If she's able to do that, I think throughout the year it's a matter of like almost playing in like certain spurts in a sense where you're not going to play like 29, 30 minutes again. We don't need that from you anymore. We need you for like a good 24, 25, hopefully like 23. So that way I can have my bench unit really sort of like keep things running. And then when the postseason comes, that's when I can really sort of like turn you up a little bit more. So I think the big thing for Sloot is just pacing herself throughout the year, just doing what she does, but just doing it in like fewer minutes. So that way you preserve energy, hold on to big leads. Don't sort of like let those leads slip away while you're on the court. And then from there, you can really just sort of like make it to the postseason in one piece. And she has the month break with the Olympics, which I think is going to help her a lot. And this is her first, now to think about it also, this is her first off season without international play in a while. So she's going to have a little bit more energy in the tank, which I think is going to be very helpful for her. So it's just a matter of like nursing her through the season. And then when the playoffs come, that's when you can really sort of like let her loose a little bit more.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you said, including just maybe it's time to manage her minutes a little bit. So, Misha, I know we've talked about this throughout the season and have it in the rundown, but I'm just going to explicitly ask the question that I think Brian alluded to in his answer. But is it time to see Courtney Vandersloot come off the bench for this New York Liberty squad, or do you still see her having a starting role?
It's gonna sound like a non-answer, but I think it's situational. You know what I mean? Like what's the task at hand? Who are we playing? What's the goal? Because in a game, it's not just about winning. It's about, we saw it last season with the New York Liberty. Game to game, there were things they needed to work on, things that Sandy, I'm sure, was working on individually, what she wanted to see from certain players, et cetera, et cetera. And I think Sloot could handle that. You know what I mean? Sloot could handle Sandy, and you see it all the time, not to bring up the men, but in the NBA, with load management, if you disagree or agree with load management, whatever, but you see that kind of strategy all the time. Well, coaches are trying to figure out what lineups are going to work. Coaches are going to figure out, who works best when she's not in the lineup. Say she's in foul trouble late in the playoffs. How do you adjust? And the regular season is when you get to toy with all that kind of stuff. And two, frankly, I mean, we saw which version of Courtney we got last season. I'm hoping, like Brian's saying, she will have a little bit more energy, will, kind of come into the season more fresh without as many of the training camp injury stuff she dealt with. But like, you also got to evaluate what version of her comes to training camp and, what it seems like she'll be capable of handling for this team. Because I do think there's value in, having her take a step back in certain games. If you're going to play a team that, I'm not going to throw any names out there because I don't want to make anybody mad. But you know what I mean? If you're playing a team where you're like, we could probably get by with less of her services today. Let's give, somebody on the bench a little bit more of a try. I see a world where that works. I do. Especially with a year under the belt of working with Sandy Rondello. I think they're kind of, maybe not like this, but on one accord at this point. So.
And I think both of y'all make a lot of sense. But here's what don't make no sense to me right now. Courtney Vandersloot coming off the bench with the roster and including the training camp invites as constructed, because who is going to play that point guard position and do it effectively for a team that played 4 games in the WNBA finals against the Las Vegas Aces? I don't see it right now.
It remains to be seen. It does remain to be seen. I will fully agree with that. Yeah.
The vision isn't visioning for me right now, because I have blown the trumpet that the New York Liberty needed a veteran coach and a veteran point guard in order to get over the hump. And that's exactly what they did. There's still a little bit more refinement to do. Brian, we heard in those exit interviews, Jonathan Kolb talked about it. Sandy Rondello talked about it, getting more athletic off the bench. And I think there's promise here. But getting more athletic doesn't always have to be getting more youthful. And there's not a lot of experience in some of the names, at least in the WNBA, and playing for a team that is vying for a WNBA championship, because that's a little bit different than competing elsewhere. I'm not saying it just is for all kinds of reasons. So I've seen Charisma Osborne a few times. I think it was Damo asking us, who do we think the New York Liberty will take? Here's that comment. So who do you think the New York Liberty are drafting? I don't think we should take Osborne at 11. I like Pili or Nika Mule, I think that's her first name, right?
Yep.
Anyway, okay, yeah, those are these are the three names that I keep seeing in mock drafts. And I think it's interesting. I think, given what I just said, maybe I'm leaning towards Mule. I can tell you, I was not impressed, and I'm a very much eye test person. I saw Charisma Osborne play. Oh dang! Now I'm getting all the games confused. Who did UCLA play in the Sweet 16?
Child, don't ask me.
It was
Once
so
it was over.
it wasn't Notre Dame, because that was the nose ring gate. We didn't even get to nose ring gate.
Oh,
Please.
man.
Please.
That was brutal. I felt bad for Hannah.
Oh, they lost to LSU.
LSU, yes, I did.
Duh.
It was LSU.
How
Okay,
did I forget that?
I couldn't remember. Those days are all mushed together in my brain.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a particularly great example of what Charisma Osborne can do.
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't say. That just happened to be the only live game that I've seen her play. But that was just a weird UCLA. I mean, they were kind of in it, but also not.
It wasn't there.
It was that was a strange game. Can we
It
just
wasn't
admit that was a strange game? So I don't want to judge her on that. But it's the only thing that I personally have seen with my own eyes live in living color. So that I will say that fully. I think if you look at some of the mock drafts, so CBS Sports, my colleague Jack has Charisma Osborne going to the New York Liberty. Yes, Elisa Pili from Utah, and also Pooch from Australia. I think I guess the New York Liberty do need a dynamic guard, especially if you're going to play Courtney Vandersloot off the bench. I don't know, though, that you're going to find a dynamic guard through the draft, is how I feel about it. Not with the 11th pick, and maybe even arguably not even this draft. Maybe next year. If you don't have one, if you don't have a top pick, then this is the comment you wanted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's something about JC that I really am here for. It's something about not just the skill. It's more so with Ohio State last season and this season. It just seems like she's the kind of player that can take command.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? She's not, we don't see her in the front page headlines. She's not real talkative off the court, things like that. But it seems as though she can handle that kind of role, taking command of a team, knowing when to pick her spots, knowing that there are great players like Cody McMahon, like Celeste Taylor, like, the other folks that are on that team. When it's their time to shine and when it's her time to take a step back and facilitate, it just seems like she's got that. And she's also got that edge. I don't know if you saw that when they got knocked out of the tournament against Duke. But JC Sheldon, and last season when they beat UConn, I think either the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight, I can't remember. You can tell when she's turned it on. And it's on both ends of the ball. That's the other important thing I wanted to make sure I didn't forget. She is an excellent defender. Mm-hmm. And I don't think she's the type that would stand down from anybody. So I think all those things make her the perfect person to either come behind Courtney Vandersloot, which if we're talking about her, I kind of feel like that would be the move.
Yeah.
But she also seems like the kind of kid that Rondello could throw into the fire and she would figure it out. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people saying Damien's still high on Charisma Osborne. I think it was Jen saying that, that wasn't a great game. That was a weird game. That was a very strange game. So we can, that's an outlier for sure. And nose ring gate. Man, the timing was very odd. We're not gonna get into it on this episode. We got a lot, but that was very strange. I didn't like it. I haven't seen a lot of Sheldon's games. I guess that's Big 12.
The last of the Big Ten, I would want to
Big
say.
Ten. Okay, I knew it was one of the bigs. But
I
not
get them
the,
confused every time.
I knew it was in Big East.
Cool.
I was like, no, yeah, Big Ten. That makes sense.
It's gonna be hell for us next year trying to figure out like what do we call the Big Ten and Pac-12? Like what is the name?
Big Pack.
Big Pack.
Now he's gone out the frame.
It was Big Ten. Okay, it was Big Ten. Okay. Is Rutgers? What? Oh, well, see, because now they done changed everything, and then okay. Anyway, that's a whole nother Biggie Bag.
I think that means something different. It could be easily misconstrued. So maybe we won't use that one. But thank you.
Anyway, moving on. Now you out the frame.
No further comment. Let's move fast.
Woo, Joe.
I'm sweating. Y'all
Listen,
gotta relax.
I like a player with a little dog. I think this is tough. I am going to defer to Jonathan Kolb Company. I think generally speaking, they do a pretty good job with development. So these comments have me dying. But I think that I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on what they do because the vision is not very clear to me right now. But again, I am an eye test person. So I will reserve judgment for training camp, which hopefully we'll have some gotta get up. I'll find a crate this time because I can't be doing side by sides with Brian, just standing regular. Like I can't be doing all that. I'd be like, what up, fam? Oh man. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, Pili, no on Pili, second round Nika, and yes on Pooch. Charisma best available at 11th, and JC would not be there. She might not be there.
That's fair. Yeah,
that is fair. Damien also like JC as well. Think Sheldon or Osborne could help immediately. All right. I mean, I'm open to it. Again, Charisma, I know her numbers. And so, again, that was just a very odd, very strange game. Haven't seen her enough to, like, pick up on vibes. I get the sense, though, that she could definitely be the kind of, like, a workhorse type player, which I think is what, generally speaking, the New York Liberty not only want, but probably need from their reserve players. But, again, for me, it's a matter of the immediate need that as I see it, Brian, is for the New York Liberty to have someone that can eat significant minutes at the point guard position, at the WNBA level, and at the level, that the New York Liberty want to play at, which is we finna get to this final all over again.
Yep.
So you find a player that could do all that, and Bob's your uncle. Bob is your uncle. Unc, what are we doing? Yeah, because I think, and here's the thing. I think that Courtney Vandersloot has to come off of the bench? No. I think for a lot of the reasons that you said, Brian, that last season could have been an outlier. We've also talked that she's been going through other things, which you can't. I certainly am not going to speak for Courtney, but I can totally understand why that could you get exhausted by all of it. I think there are a few of our players that were going through some things. Anyway, I just think that you have to figure something out. I don't see Sabrina Ionescu being a top point guard in the WNBA. I just positionless basketball is one thing. Some people get with it. I'm like, raise eyebrow. I guess, just like having a, side of peas with your steak. I don't know. But playing the point guard is a very specific skill. And I do think that Sabrina can do some of that, and she's better at the 2. I just really think she's better at the 2. And there ain't nothing wrong with it.
Nothing at all. It is what it is.
Not everyone could play the 5 either.
Mm-hmm.
That's another position people be trying to throw some folks into, and not everyone could do it. No, you said what you said. I did. I don't know if that was for me, but I did. Always. So I don't know. I think the health of Sloot will play a factor. A competitive training camp will certainly play a factor. At 11, it's not a make or break draft pick, to be honest. It's not. Especially with the way the W is. Now, here's an interesting question. Has nothing to do with the New York Liberty, or at least I don't think it should. But who knows? Stranger things. Where do y'all see, Misha, I'm gonna come to you first. Where do y'all see Angel Reese fitting in the W?
I'm so glad you asked, Erica.
Well, okay. We did not plan this. I genuinely just wanted to know.
I want to see Angel Reese come home.
See, here we go. Not to make it out about the Mystics.
It is.
I wasn't even talking, Brian. See, I wasn't even talking about a team. I just meant like, what's this gonna be like? Is she gonna fit? What's the transition? She took it right there. Okay.
Look. I want to see baby girl come home. The reason why, I'm just imagining a training camp. I'm really getting into character here. I'm imagining a training camp with Angel Reese and Shakira Austin going head to head, iron sharpening iron. Yes. Shakira Austin, a young
trailer. I need the full 90-minute right now.
Yo, because if you look at the path Shakira Austin took coming into the league, she's young, she's a 4, she can do all the things, right? She comes into a Washington Mystics squad where she's lucky to have vets around her. They coach her up, blah, 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 blah. Now she will be in a perfect opportunity, a perfect position to feed all that knowledge to Angel Reese, who's coming in with pretty much the, you know what I mean? Not the same skill set. I wouldn't say that, but you know what? I'm looking at Kalani Brown and Tierra McCowan in Dallas. They might not be as tall, but as far as versatility in the defense and the kind of schemes that we know that the Mystics like to use, I see her fitting extremely well. And frankly, last season, one of the issues I had with the Mystics, outside of Britt Bundles, okay, Brittany Sykes and Tasha Cloud, and I'll put Ariel Austin in there, or Ariel Atkins, excuse me, in there. I needed more dog. I did. There were moments where games lulled, and it seemed like it was 2 or 3 people trying to put the whole thing on their back, and everybody else was just like, I mean, all right, I guess this is what we do. And Angel Reese comes with what? That dog in her. And so I think if we're talking about her transition to the league, that also plays a huge role, because you have to have unwavering belief in yourself to make it in this league. That's just what it is. You know, there are people who struggle with that, I'm sure. But when you're in that training camp and you're in those 5-on-5s against these vets, against these folks who we saw the skits, welcome to the W. They're making it clear it's not an easy path, but you have to be able to come in there with that kind of mentality. And that's one of Angel's best assets, in my opinion. And then the rebounding, I think that immediately translates. I do, because the way I was just talking to my dad about it, the way she throws her body around. Yes, she could. Yeah. What do you mean she's not going to develop a consistent shot? I wouldn't go ahead and say that either. That's
Misha.
Never.
Misha.
It might take some time.
Come on now.
Right now, I'm not going to say she's got a consistent shot. I'm not going to say that.
She don't.
Given time, I don't see a reason why she couldn't.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so we're not gonna develop. That's the issue we're taking. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. The transition, if training camp started tomorrow, where's the mid-range? Where's the perimeter shot? I don't think it's there.
I don't think she's coming into that roster to be a scorer. That's not really, because I'm looking at it more from what the Mystics have proven, that organization has proven itself to be in terms of defense in terms of that coming first before everything else.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and say her offensive game is, you know what I mean, anything particularly unicornish like we were talking about with Caitlin Clark. I'll absolutely concede that for sure. But culture-wise, defensive-wise, rebounding-wise, mentality-wise, I think she would fit.
I can get with it. Then the question becomes, where does the offense come from Washington? I mean, that's a Tebow question, I guess. But all the Tebows, I need all of the Tebows on the line.
The whole family. Get Carly in there too. Her and Fairfield had a great year. Okay.
Listen, that might be the one. That might be the one. Okay, we gonna have to talk about that at another time. In the meantime, in between time. Okay, I think Angel Reese is gonna have to continue to develop her offensive game. I think that I'm very curious to see how her defensive game translates in the W. I think it has a lot of potential, for sure. And she can, knock down and the boards just, that's another one where I was like, yeah, okay. No, I see you. Also, like, people don't box out. People don't box out. Just like, had they boxed out just maybe the one time, just maybe the one time, it might have been different, but that's okay. Anyway, yeah, Angel Reese is interesting. I'm curious because they're saying I've seen Reese go anywhere from like 4 to 8 in some of these mock drafts, which I think is very interesting.
I saw one that ESPN put out. I think they had her going to Minnesota. I think Minnesota's like 6, right? Somewhere around there. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I feel like the one place I hope she does not go, only for her sake, is Dallas, because Greg Bibb loves centers. And I feel like outside of like Arike and Crystal Dangerfield, it's like everyone on that roster is a center. So it's like, don't go there. Stay out of Dallas. Like, anywhere but like
the whole team is centers.
You got like 7. Like you got 7 centers, and they all make.
Dallas picks 9.
Dallas picks. Okay, let me pull up the draft.
Well, they probably got a million picks. They always got picks. I'm like, Dallas, what y'all doing?
Wait, is
they
this
got
year
5,
or is that next year? I think it'll be this year. Maybe. I think.
Yeah, they have I was scrolling from the bottom because I was at the Liberty pick, but they have, what did I just say, 5 and 9. Interesting. Okay, now is the time. We have a little bit more time. Well, who knows? What is time? A concept. We can take a few more. So either if there's a comment that you have that you want us to get to that you have further up, or if you have something else, now is your chance. Get them questions in. I've seen a few in here that I think would be good to come back to. Deja Fair. Now, okay, first of all, a player that Angel Reese and Flage gave her flowers during the Albany Regional, and rightfully so, was climbing the all-time scoring list, just like Caitlin Clark. Obviously, Clark was leading the pack. She's, crushing it. But Deja Fair also climbing the all-time scoring list. I think she sits at, it's either 3 or 4. It is 3, right? Okay, because she passed Plum and Mitchell, also Jackie Stiles in this season. Okay. I would be curious to see if Fair gets some love. I've seen, at least the mock drafts I've seen, I haven't seen too much Deja Fair, but I think that could be interesting. It's just so hard. I mean, it's kind of tough too, because I think there's a decent amount of talent that's going to come out of this draft. If we had another team or two, I think things would be very different. But we don't have an expansion draft anytime soon. We won't have the Bay until 20. Is it 6 or 7?
I think it's 5.
Oh, child.
I know, because I got that on my calendar.
Not on the calendar.
Man.
I don't know why I thought it was 6 for sure.
Yeah.
I think the second one might be 6 if they ever get it.
If they ever announce it,
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of Deasia Fair, just for the second, I did see one mock draft have her going to Connecticut, which interesting. Interesting. But I would just love to see her get a shot, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, you know, some of those invites I think could be interesting. All right. What do we think about Sherrod?
I sigh heavily. I love Jalen Sherrod. I love the energy and the passion that she plays with. I just wonder what role she would play on a WNBA team. How do you evaluate? Yeah, that's the question for me. It's because you see teams play her this season the way that they played Raven Johnson last season, right? They got 2 feet in the paint, not worried about, and for a guard in the WNBA,
that's tough.
That's tough. I'm not gonna knock her defense. I'm not gonna knock her effort, her energy, her passion for the game ever.
Yeah.
But that to me it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, again, they took on Iowa, I guess would have been the last game that I saw in the or the first game. But the energy, I mean, we talk for the New York Liberty about being able to drive to the hoop. That's definitely there. So if you have a team that maybe they lean in heavily to the positionless, or they have Dallas, I don't know, all 5 of their centers can shoot from the perimeter. Then there you go. Sherrod is your point guard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just like move out the way, let a little bit take care of it, and then just bam, knock them down.
If a team needs a role player to go in there and defend somebody, then I say yeah. But there's just so much more. Not funny. She said if you got.
And here's the thing with the rosters. Oh, we appreciate y'all too. Thank you.
Oh, thank y'all.
Not the flames. You know I love a lot of flame.
I can't even do this right. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you handle that.
Please. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean the roster size is small, so we know they can tap out at 12. But like, also some folks just be like, we gonna risk it for the biscuit and go with 10. I don't know what could happen. What could possibly go wrong? Like if you had more roster spots, then sure, then you can have that player come in, take a timeout, or, inbound play. You get that player in to play some lockdown defense or whatever the case is. But, this isn't volleyball. We don't get all them, we don't get all them switches and stuff. Like, we can't do all that. So, all right, let's see. Any other questions, burning questions? Did y'all see anything that we didn't get to? Oh, I thought this was interesting. Do you see Sabrina as a potential top shooting guard? This is interesting. Because I'm also trying to think, like, who are some of the top shooting guards in the W? I think the WNBA, when it comes to the 1 and 2 position, I just like, I feel like there's very few teams right now in this era of the WNBA, aka positionless basketball. I'm just uncomfortable with positionless basketball. So let's just start there. Auntie don't like it. She ain't want it. I didn't ask for it. It came a calling. I don't know what happened. But I just don't understand. Like, the 1 is such a critical role for me. And like a hybrid 1 is not the same as a floor general, in my opinion. In my opinion, also, like, sure, if you have a hybrid 2, that's I'm being very nitpicky here, but a hybrid 2 can at least, be serviceable playing the 1, but they're best off the ball, right? The offense should be to get them the ball. That's how I see it, at least. So do I see Sabrina as a potential top shooting guard? I think she could be. Her shot is definitely there. I think her efficiency is there. She obviously has range. So the shot is there. It's just a matter of finding with a person like Sabrina, who I think could play the point, but I think is even better at the 2. You have to find a then very good point guard to work the offensive system, because part of, in my opinion, when you have a 2, it's predicated on everyone else doing all that they can do to make the defense forget that they should be guarding the 2. Like, like you got to do everything under the sun. So some of it's not necessarily in her control. At least that's how I see it. I don't know about you, Misha.
I agree with you. I think for me, it's always going to come back to defense, because to call her a top shooting guard, you have to be able to leave her out there with the top shooting guards across the WNBA. And that's just, as of right now, I would not feel comfortable doing that. If we're talking offense, then maybe, then there's, I see that argument. But if we're talking all around, it's hard.
That is tough. I don't know, Brian, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say if as like a top shooting guard, I would say it's tough, because I feel like it's hard to say that an all WNBA player can get even better, but I think she can. Like there's plenty of room for her in that regard. And I would say the only 2 guards, like the positional classifications are so tricky too, because it's like, who in Vegas counts as the 2 guard between Gray and Plum? So that's one right there. Jewel, I think, is obviously ahead, so I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
Then after, it's like Arike. I'm like, she's great, but I'm not like a huge Arike fan in that regard. But then from there, it's like, who else would we sort of classify in that position? So I feel like by default, she's like a top 2 guard by default, but I feel like if you had to put in like a tier, it's like I would say a tier 1 is like Jewel, and then like a tier 2 might be Sabrina, if that makes sense. I feel like that helps me sort of like,
I see that,
make it a little bit clearer, but it's still sort of like hazy, because she tends to like float between both roles. So it's hard to like put her in like a particular paradigm,
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't immediately think of Jewel, but that's also very much recency bias, because Jewel had to do a lot, a lot for that Seattle team, which is so strange, because like I'm fully conscious and aware of Sue Bird, and yet I somehow just forgot all about her when thinking of Jewel Lloyd, because Jewel has been with one of the best pure point guards in the last handful of years. Played alongside Sue Bird all them years. So, yeah. But that's kind of my point, right? Jewel Lloyd was a great 2 because she had a great point guard and has always had great post players with those Seattle teams. I mean, Stewie was there for a long time. So, to me, the 2 almost on the offensive side, because I like what Misha said as well, it almost, you kind of have to have a really solid cast of characters for that 2 to really do what they do best. And I think you're absolutely right, Brian. When we have Jewel Lloyd doing what she does the absolute best, whoo, hold up, wait a minute now. So when they got Skylar Jenkins-Smith and Nneka Ogwumike,
nuts. I immediately, when I saw the news, I was like, automatic contenders, because come on, be for real.
That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, so. Yeah. So I wonder what that super team narrative is going to look like out in the Emerald City. But all right, folks, we're going to close this one up. I feel like we got through a lot. There was a lot. There was so much to talk about, and there will be so much more. By the time we get ready for our next episode, we will know who the New York Liberty selected. So we're going to get into that a little bit. I think things are looking good on the Marine Johannes front as far as Team France. Oh my goodness. So we'll see about that, but leaning towards talking about MJ in our next episode. But we appreciate y'all, the 9 million topics that we cover in this podcast, and y'all still stick around with us. We appreciate y'all. So we'll keep you posted for the next episode. But Brian, you coming through to the draft? What you up to?
Yeah, I got mine came in the email today. I've
I
got
was like, oh, you got it in the mail. I was like, okay, he got the plug. Let me find out.
I got my approval today, so I've got it set up for the 15th. It's like 10 minutes from my job, so I'm gonna walk, soak up some sun, get a little exercise before I make it to the draft. I have to figure out sort of figure out my day, but it's gonna be. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a great night. Fans are gonna be there. It's gonna be at BAM, so it's gonna be a new kind of energy. So I'm really excited to see it. A lot of our friends are gonna be there, which makes it even more fun. So
Nice.
I'm feeling great. I feel it's gonna be like a really fun draft. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm loving it. Yep. I will be in the house as well, doing some stuff with CBS Sports. So that should be exciting. I'll find a step stool, and Brian and I will also do a hit for Black Jersey Media and the Gotta Get Up podcast. I'll be like, yo, can someone give me a boost real quick? I'm on the lower side of average. Thank you very much. And decided to be a basketball reporter. It's all good. Misha, what you got going on? I know, sad face, you can't be with us. We tried to make it work, but next time maybe. But I know you got other projects that you're working on, so let the folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, producing a podcast with Higher Ground, Barack and Michelle's production company called Ways to Win. We have got 4 episodes currently out. Our last episode was actually with Stephanie White. She dropped a whole lot of gems about her time with Carolyn Peck winning that natty at Purdue in '99, talking about her picks for this tournament. So many good things in there. Had an episode with Grant Hill, and there's just a lot of cool stuff happening. And another episode coming tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed or checked that out yet, check that out, because a lot of blood, sweat, and tears is going into this podcast. So yeah.
Big things. I love it. All right, fam. For Misha Jones and Brian Florentin, I am Erica L. Ayala. This has been another episode of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. And sometimes, we like to talk about the Mystics too. Y'all be well. I'll say what I say on my hockey podcast. Be kind to yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Be kind to one another. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody. This is where we awkwardly wave until the live stream stops.